moment of silence.
Well, I didn't see that coming.
Oh, a giveaway. We peaked too early. It was meant to be a surprise. Welcome to another evening of Musing with the Musicians. And we have a very, very fine musician, singer, songwriter, guitarist, and does a pretty good Barbie, I think, as well. Can you hear me, Robin? Nod if you can. Yes, you can. We can't hear him yet because I've muted him. I have the power. But please welcome our good friend all the way from South Africa, he says, looking for things to put. There we go. Please welcome our good friend, Robin Auld.
Ah.
Are you there?
Lovely to be here. Yes, all good.
Oh, good.
Can you hear me?
You can, and we can see you too.
Okay. Awesome.
Well, Rob, thank you very much. Can I call you Rob or can I call you Robin? What would you prefer?
You know, I've never really been a Rob, eh?
No, I never thought of you as a Rob.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't get cross if somebody called me Rob. I don't get cross when people call me Rob. But it's just it never stuck.
My father-in-law is Robin. And he answers to Robbo as well as Robin.
Yeah.
But but he's mainly Robin.
What I do mind is when people say with a Y or an I. It's clearly with an I.
Of course, it's an I.
Of course, it's an I. So I get a bit knocked with that question, but otherwise, I don't mind.
That's the female version. Look, who's here?
Exactly.
Yeah, Marin van Eden Moss, from Port Elizabeth, all the way from Port Elizabeth. Jolly good.
Hi, Moraine.
You know her then, Robin?
We did a we did a gig up in Port Elizabeth a little while back, or Kaberge as it's now called, and we had a lovely show, didn't we? It was great fun.
Oh, how nice!
Yeah.
Well, Robin, I'm going to go back to this evening, as we said earlier. We was chatting earlier and setting this up and making sure that Robin looked as perfect as he does now. With the light shining off, glistening off his almost Adonis-like body, and I shouldn't have said that.
My glowing locks. Do you notice I had a haircut for tonight?
Yeah, no, I didn't. But I was just talking earlier, and I was kind of thinking when I first met Robin, I used to run a club in Wolverton in England, near Milton Keynes, and it was an open mic club, and every so often we used to have guests come along, and I think Robin was the first one, wasn't it? John Moraes introduced you. You remember John, obviously, I assume.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
John introduced us, and we booked you for that night. It's a fantastic night, and I've been a fan ever. I've been a fan ever since. And then because weren't you in England at that? Well, you were living in England then, weren't you?
It's all a bit blurry now.
I know.
But I was living in the UK then. I think I'd come over because I was doing stints backwards and forwards. I'd do 4 years there and 4 years here, and I think that was like one of the earliest stints where we was living there, but it didn't. But then I came back after that. But I remember that night, because that must be, I don't want to say how long ago it was, but it was a long time ago. I'm talking 20 years. Was it 20 years ago?
It must be sort of 2003 or 4 or something like that. Was it? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's got to be.
It was a good while back. Yeah.
You were living in Lincolnshire, weren't you?
Yes. Yes. But then I was living in Hertfordshire as well for a bit.
Oh, Hitchin, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, Hitchin, and then and we lived in Melton Mowbray.
That's it.
For 5 years, yeah.
Yep.
And then I was in London as well for many years. So
you get around.
Okay, well. Yeah, and I enjoy the UK. I haven't played as much in Scotland because that's my home patch in a way, from Ayrshire, and I haven't played much up there. I've done a few gigs here and there, but not as much as I'd like.
Yeah. At that time, when you were over in England at that time, what sort of gigs were you doing? Were you doing similar sort of stuff that you did for me at the Wolverton Club?
It was a kind of a change because I'd always played, folk guitar, or well, not even folk guitar, but just acoustic guitar in my recordings. And I came out of that sort of '80s thing where it was pop rock, and the production was very pop rock. And I'd made a bunch of albums like that and had sort of hit songs and all that in that kind of genre. And it was only coming to the UK where it sort of occurred to me that you could, actually travel and put your kids through school and work as an acoustic musician with the folk scene. I'd never seen this before, and it was actually at the Hitchin Folk Club.
Oh yeah, well known folk
When
club.
I was living there. Yeah. So one of the oldest ones in the country, I think. Now I went down there a few times, and I saw a couple of acts that made a big impression on me. One was Hans Teersink, who's a Dutch blues artist,
Mm-hmm.
and he did a great set. And I remember asking him. He had Bobby King and the two vocalists who used to sing with Ry Cooder, Bobby King. I can't remember the dude's name, but he had them on his record. And I just went up and chatted to him afterwards about that. I said, "How did you manage to get them on the record?" He said, "Well, you just asked them." And it sort of occurred to me that there's a big world out there of roots musicians just getting on with it, not being signed to a major label, and that there was an audience for it. So that was quite a gear change for me, and that sort of brought it on. And then when I came to Wolverhampton and did that the club, there were a few others that they were not all of them were as welcoming as you, Brad. I have to say. The English folk scene, it can be quite kind of, if your dad wasn't in Fairport Convention, then you can just forget it.
Yeah, there is a little bit of snobbery there. Emma's saying hello.
Yes, how's it, Emma?
Mallorca.
From your yeah.
Oh, we're global, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yes, it's. I think you're right with the folk scene. It can be seen as a little bit of a closed shop unless you're. I think Richard Thompson says. I was watching an interview with him the other day, and he was saying a very similar sort of thing. That unless you was one of the in crowd as such, it was quite hard to get onto it.
Absolutely, and. But still, and also I'm not really a folk artist. So I was always kind of busking just because I had an acoustic guitar. How's it, Ant?
Good evening, Anthony.
It was an acoustic kind of thing, but it wasn't really folk, and I wouldn't pretend to be a fully fledged folk artist.
Yeah.
But I do use folk. I always liked genres like folk and country in the singer-songwriter context. Like the way. Ry Cooder or the Eagles or Tom Waits will use country or blues or something. It doesn't mean that they're, a dyed-in-the-wool blues artist or country artist, but you use those kind of things. And I've always liked the singer-songwriter thing where anything's good cop. You can use anything,
Yeah.
So it was quite an educational time for me being in the UK and playing those shows and also seeing guys. In fact, I'm still convinced that what's the dude from Devon who made a record with 200 quid on the Devon Moors and then became a huge star in the folk scene?
Fisherman's Friends
I
or
did,
something? No, that's Cornwall.
I can't remember what his name is now, but I'm pretty convinced because he made quite big stock with a stomp board, and I played the Cambridge Folk Festival, the tent, the club tent.
Yeah.
And he was on that show there, and I had my stomp board there, and I saw a little bit later he'd got himself one.
Really?
Yeah.
You can't remember who that was?
Seth Lakeman.
Seth Lakeman, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, he was at the back of the tent and he was watching my set. I remember that.
Was he?
Yeah.
He's done all right for himself, hasn't he?
He's done very well.
Yeah.
But and some of the artists, I remember one guy who he's not super big, but he's from Devon, Paul Downs.
Oh yeah, of course, Paul Downs.
Yeah, and he's a super accomplished guitarist, and I really enjoyed his playing. The way, because it was always a problem for me, because you'd always be playing with a band, so you could play a lead solo over anything. But if you were just playing acoustic guitar, and this is before the loop pedal thing came in, you had to figure out instrumental breaks and pieces that worked with the song and with the chords and so on. And he was the first guy that I saw that could actually play the song, and then he'd play a whole part that was worked out, with that was melodic and kind of a solo, but still in the song. So I learned a lot from watching artists around that time.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Downs used to be paired with Phil Beer, who went on to, I don't know if you know Show of Hands.
Show of Hands, yeah,
Yep.
sure, yeah.
Okay, so Phil Beer used to be with Paul Downs as a duo in the very early days. A great duo they made too. Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's I think the folk scene is quite unique to this country, isn't it? I don't you don't get anything this sort of thing in South Africa?
No, it has got a little bit of a resurgence. We've got a couple of folk clubs where folk artists do play, but it tends to be a bit broader. So you have singer-songwriters or even jazz guys, blues guys playing. Our local folk club, the Barleycorn, is actually thriving again after years of sort of going through turns and ups and downs. But it's now very strong and thriving. But in the late 70s was probably the heyday of South African folk. During the time of what Dave van Ronk called the Great Folk Scare, when folk artists were actually selling records, and we had a couple called Des and Dawn. Des and Dawn Limburg, and they had hits on the radio.
Did they?
They had a big hit with the Seagull's name was Nelson.
Of course.
And yes, obviously, which was like very very rebellious in the day, because everybody was wondering what the Nelson was, and it was at the height of apartheid and all that.
Ah.
And another one called Puff the Magic Dragon.
Yeah.
Which was
Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Very seditious. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in South Africa, that was quite a big deal, because it was a very very kind of oppressive thing, trying to play music of anything out of the approved.
Was that around the time of Rodriguez?
No, that was before. That was like quite a lot before.
Okay, because I just not long come into it, I discovered him. I watched the film Finding
Sugar Man.
What a movie!
Yeah.
What a fantastic! That's one of the best movies I've seen. But I can't remember. And what a guy! It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, no, he was. I guess late 70s. But his albums were huge here.
But nowhere else. He didn't sell anywhere else, did he?
I think he did okay in Australia. I think he did quite okay in Australia. All the former colonies. But he didn't do very much in the States at all, or the UK. So it was great to see him do well. And I mean, I know a lot of the people that were involved in that. South Africans have all got Rodriguez stories of one.
Did you ever see him live?
I didn't. No, I didn't. I was actually in the UK when all that happened and broke. But I've got some very good mates who played in the band with him when he came out and so on. So yeah, that was. As I say, he's the most famous South African to ever come out of Detroit.
Yes. I was just blown away by a friend said to me, "Oh, have you heard of this Rodriguez?" I said, "No, who the hell's he?" And he says, "Borrow this DVD, have a watch, see what you think of it." And it was just fantastic. Rodriguez. Fantastic.
It's a great album. It still stands up.
Yeah. I downloaded the Is that what you do these days? Isn't it? Download them.
Yeah. Well, actually, I stream them these days, which is terrible.
Yeah.
But when I'm doing Dad Taxi and I'm taking my 14-year-old to school, we do Wanty Wanty, which is she plays a song. So she's doing this song, this latest top 20 thing. It's got I Wonder in it.
Okay.
So I said, well, I've got a song that's got I Wonder in it. So then I streamed the Rodriguez tune, and she was digging on it. Yeah.
Was she? Oh, excellent.
Yeah. There's hope.
There. Hello. Good evening, Mark. Living up to the family motto, Cero sed serio, late but in earnest. Ah. Okay. Well, nice of you to turn up. Mark is in Belfast.
Ah, okay. Do you know, I've played Belfast once.
Have you?
Yeah, in a Grease cover band.
A Grease cover band?
Yeah. We were terrible.
grease
I'd love
cut.
to play there, though.
Yeah.
I'd love to play there. We played. Is it the? There's a big hotel there. It's a famous one, and there's a bar underneath, and we played that. But so much good music's come out of Belfast.
Oh, good evening, Aaron. Aaron's in New York.
Blimey, we're
Yeah,
all over
no,
the show tonight.
he's a very, very fine singer and guitarist as well. And Mark's laughing. What are you laughing for, Mark? And I interviewed Aaron a couple of weeks ago. He's saying nice M80.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I love it. Yeah.
That's your guitar, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's referring to the pickup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played Pietz's for years, but
That's still your Gibson, isn't it?
it's a Ibanez. This is the lawsuit edition.
You used to have a Gibson, didn't you?
No, this is
Did
my
it?
Epson. It's a copy of the Gibson,
Yeah.
and a close enough copy that Gibson sued Ibanez to make them stop making it.
Did they?
Hence the title. This is the lawsuit special.
I didn't know that. Not a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
I expect they do. How about a song?
Yep. Sounds good.
Lovely.
My throat's a bit croaky, so we'll have to see how it goes. But this is a tune called Old Book from my last album. I believed that the world was for the meek, and the new book served us well. How many times we turned the other cheek, but it's the old book. Yes, it's the old book. It's the old book I read from now. How does beauty survive without the means to defend herself? Mr. Big asked of Mr. Lee. At the time, I didn't understand the question, but it's the old book. Yes, it's the old book. It's the old book I read from now. Forgiveness is down the river, and redemption's gone around the bend. Don't wring your hands, ain't no use complaining, 'cause it's the old book. Yes, it's the old book. It's the old book I read from now. Yes, it's the old book. Yes, it's the old book. It's the old book I read from now. I read from now. I read from now. I read from now.
That was great, Robin.
Oh, thank you.
Really enjoyed that. Aaron says, is there a mic on the guitar? No, there's not. The only mic we're using is the SM58, and it's picking up everything.
58, yeah.
The reason
Yeah.
it's so loud is because it's a big guitar, and Robin uses his toenails as plectrums.
Actually, I'm a bit of a softie. I use medium shark fins.
Ooh.
Yeah. But I find, it's often mic placement. I do mic up, Aaron. I do use a little, one of those Russian Octava, whatever they are, little, condenser ones on the guitar. But I'm finding if you're sort of thumping it out and you're fairly close to the mic, you don't have to worry about the guitar being too loud, so when you start thumping it. So, for this kind of situation, you often go into radio stations and they've just got the one mic and you just kind of try and get the placement right.
Well, it's sounding really. I mean, considering that you're in South Africa, and I can tell you're in South Africa because you've got a log fire burning in the background.
I'm just cooking up some cane rat for supper later.
Lecky.
No, it's actually it is getting a bit cold as we're getting into winter. We were saying earlier, people think that we're in Africa and we're just sweltering in loincloths all day, but it does get cold in the winter. Although it probably is a bit overkill having the fire on. But I know my missus and daughter are coming home just now, and they're going to want the fire on, so that's on.
What did you told me earlier? The temperature was 14 degrees or something, was it? In SA at the moment.
Yes, we're down to 14.
Tropical. Tropical.
When it gets into the winter, though, I mean, we get down to kind of in Cape Town 4 or 5 for about 2 months. Maybe a little bit colder overnight.
That's cool.
So it's it's cold enough.
Yeah.
But I must say, I mean Scotland, the UK gets cold, but Scotland, as I remember as a child, the West Coast, Kilwinning and Darvel, that got cold.
Was you actually born in Scotland, or did you? I mean, your parents are from Scotland originally, I believe.
Yeah, they were from Ayrshire, and my dad went out to Zambia as part of the colonial police force. He responded to a recruitment poster, and thought he was going to go to the New World, and he went out to be a copper. And then when he was out there, he studied a bit and became a magistrate, sort of a circuit magistrate, where they would travel around and hear cases and so on. But we lived in. Firstly, we started on the copper belt, Loanshire and Kitwe and places like that, and then we moved down to a town near Livingston on the Zambezi River, a place called Sashaki. So, and that's probably the place that I remember the best. And it was lovely. It was, the nearest folks were kind of 10 miles down the river the one way. It was to visit people for supper by boat.
Yeah.
And I remember the local native folks were super welcoming, and they used to look after me. I was about 4 or 5, and I used to run around, and they would make sure that I didn't get eaten by a hippo or anything. They always look out for me. And in fact, they'd want to give you things. It was a big spot for peanuts. I used to get given a lot of peanuts. But no, I've got very, very, very good memories and warm memories of the people there.
Kevin McKeever says, "Hi, Robin."
How's it, Kevin? Thank you, man.
And Mark says it's balmy.
I can't argue with you, Mark. But I tell you what, when my missus gets home, because she's gone to a thing with the daughter, and they're going to walk in and they go like, "Can you put the fire up a little bit?" That's just how it is. My wife has no. She's like a cat. There's no limit to the amount. I mean, you get hot to a certain degree, and then you'll move away, or you'll open a window. She's not like that. She will just lie there, and it gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and she just loves it. So
yeah. What can you do? What I was going to.
Thanks, Emma.
There you go, Emma. What is your sort of earliest musical memory, Robin? What do you? When did you first decide that, or when was you first exposed to music, and what music was that?
Well, I always liked tunes. I mean, I suppose back then tunes were the thing. But my mom used to sing in the kitchen. That was probably the first thing that I heard. And she used to sing light opera, Carmen, stuff like that. And then when we went to, actually, in Zambia, the big thing of the day was Harry Belafonte. And so if you went to a barbecue or a chicken in a basket to do, as they used to call it there, Harry Belafonte would probably be on the turntable. And then I went to Scotland, and the pop thing was just sort of coming in with guys like Herman's Hermits. And
You're
the Seekers
surely
and
not
so
that.
on.
You're not that old. Come on. Hermits?
I am,
You?
Brad.
You can't. You're only a slip of a lad.
I was about 9 when Please Play a Song, a Sentimental Song came on, and those big hits that Herman's Hermits had, and I loved the Seekers. I can't remember if it was the Seekers or the New Seekers.
Yeah.
And then I can remember hearing for the first time on the radio "Blowin' in the Wind" by Bob Dylan. And the lyrics just straight away just cut through everything else that was on the radio. I just loved those lyrics. And then I also heard "A Hard Day's Night" by the Beatles. So those were the two that kind of took it out of what I had been listening to. But I always just loved tunes, I mean, my mom used to take us to see musicals. I loved My Fair Lady, The King and I,
Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
you know what? That wasn't one. That wasn't
No.
The Sound of Music.
Sound of Music.
The Sound of Music. Sound of Music. That was a big one, and I still love those songs. In fact, I've been working on a dodgy version of "On the Street Where You Live."
So what?
Which I
what-
want to do sometime.
What would have been the first record that you bought then? I can remember
First record-
I can remember mine. I'm only saying that because I
Yeah.
can remember mine, which was Little White Ball by Tommy Steele.
Nice.
Yeah. And the thing is, because we were so poor, well, no, we weren't. But I was so poor that I bought in those days, you could go into Woolworths and you could buy a top 10 single, not by a top 10 artist, but it was like Little White Ball was in the top 10 then, but it was performed by somebody completely different to Tommy Steele. And it was cheaper. So instead of paying whatever it was, I can't remember what a record was, you got it about half price because they were official cover versions, if you like. Yeah.
Like a knockoff. Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
we had a very similar situation, Brad, in South Africa, with a thing that was called Springbok Hits, and the business model was basically when you had all the hits that were all on the radio all over the world, but they couldn't get the records out to South Africa quick enough to get them in the shops, but they were being played on the radio because the 7 singles had been sent out earlier.
Yeah.
And so Springbok Hits was based on if we quickly get a bunch of session musicians together and knock the song together and we get it in the shops quickly, and it sounds kind of like the one that's on the radio, and that proved to be a very successful model, and they sold squillions of records for donkey's years. I mean, every South African has got Springbok Hits from these dodgy Joburg sessions that went on. And in fact, I've started to cover one of them, which is called Mammy Blue, which is an old tune that was done by a put-together band called Charisma. And it was 16 weeks at number one in South Africa, the longest-running hit single of all time. And we've been starting to cover it and doing it in a kind of a blues version, just for fun. So I'm actually impressed to hear that was going on in the UK as well, because you didn't have the excuse that it took time to get the stuff out there. It was just
this is true.
dodgy Dickensian swindle, basically.
They're just tight. That's all it was. And there were albums as well called Music for Pleasure, MFP, and that was the same kind of thing. You get an album full of stuff by various singers, but that sounded almost like the real thing, but not quite. So, what was your first record that you bought then? Can you remember?
The first one that I bought was it was a Jimi Hendrix record called Loose Ends, which is not an official.
I'm quite a Hendrix fan. I've never heard of that.
It's not an official release, but it's got some brilliant stuff on it. It was it had Billy Cox. I don't think it had Buddy Miles on drums. I think it was Mitch Mitchell and Billy Cox were sort of in between the Experience and when he was playing with Billy Cox. And it's kind of late night jams where they play Hoochie Coochie Man, and he plays a beautiful instrumental version of Electric Ladyland, and I just loved it. And I tell the same story that I see that and the Session Men, but okay, I won't go back to that story. But I heard Red House for the first time, and I share the story with Rob Nachel, who's a good mate of mine, and the Red House has got this intro, you know, so.
Oh yeah.
And so that song came on, and it's like a 12-bar blues, and I thought, of course, this is an amazing song. I didn't know it was an entire form or a genre. I thought, like, this is just a really cool song. And I learned to play that by, as you did in those days, lifting the needle up and putting, what is he doing there? You keep on putting it back. So I learned to play blues pretty much from that record. But I wasn't, although it was the first record that I bought, we were also extremely skint when I was growing up and at school and so on. And buying records was not a possibility. But I was very fortunate in that I had mates who had older brothers. I don't know if you had this, Brad, but there was always an older brother who had all the records. And my one buddy, Kubi, and his younger brother Ashley, they had an older brother called Gavin Falk, who brought in like records on import all the time. And my other good mate, Davey Stolk, his older brother Leonard, was bringing in records on import all the time. So we would go around after school, and it was just like a candy store. You know, I mean, I heard, Hejira by Joni Mitchell, Argus, Wishbone Ash, Crimson, Robert Fripp, all that, just so much stuff that was coming out then. So I wasn't deprived by any way of music, for sure.
Well, my brother was 6 years older than me, and so I had Buddy Holly, the Buddy Holly story, the first one, and Elvis GI Blues was the other one that he brought home, and I played them to death. I just love Buddy Holly, and I do love early Elvis. Not so much GI Blues is okay, but he's getting a bit more commercial. But I do love early Elvis. But
the Sun sessions.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
the Sun recordings. Yeah, that's great stuff.
So what's Anthony saying there? The session band was the Session Men in SA.
Well, I think there were a few. I don't know if there was a one band as such. I think there was a sort of a floating roster of bands, and the ones that had the hit with Mammy Blue was called Charisma. Whether they did any other ones, I have no idea. But they're credited as having the biggest hit. So we're doing Mammy Blue now. It was a hit in Italy first. I think it's been done in a couple of versions, and then it was done by these guys and had this big hit.
So obviously, guitar was your first instrument. Oh,
no, it wasn't actually.
Oh.
I played piano. I took piano as a subject at school. Thanks to my mom, and I started. In fact, it was quite a unusual thing to be taking music as a subject as a bloke in South Africa, because everybody was rugby mad, and I was the only boy in a school of about 560 who took music as a subject. But that was just fine, because there were about 8 girls, all older than me, who also took music as a subject. So I got to at least, surround myself with the beauties that were beyond my reach.
I did cooking for the very same reason.
Really?
Yes.
I tried, but it's back in those days, South Africa National Party curriculum, you couldn't. I tried to do home economics, but they said, no, sorry for you, pal.
Domestic science, we called it then, I think.
Yeah. So I took piano, and I loved it initially. But once I started playing guitar, then that was that. I just kind of, it didn't seem like work. I mean, I played piano, and it just drifted away from the moment I started playing guitar. It just took to it much more easily. And it seemed less rule bound. I mean, piano, you're doing the classics, and you're doing four part harmony and all that kind of stuff, and it's quite structured and as I say, rule bound. Whereas the guitar was just this universe of stuff that you didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah. Did you still play piano? Can you still play piano?
I can play pop keyboards for my own songs, or sometimes I produce for other acts, and I can come up with a fairly quirky pop part. But that fugue from Bach, I'm afraid, is long gone. I can't do that.
It's probably just as well, I think.
No, sometimes I sit down and I can remember the first, because the finger memory is still there. I can go, and that's as far as it goes. And I sort of wish I could just sail on into it, you know.
So what was the first guitar you had?
It was a kind of a homemade affair. That it was actually quite an interesting guitar. I don't think it played terribly, but I can't. It was made quite beautifully. It had all sorts of inlays, and the neck was weird and so on. And I have to confess, I jumped on it and broke it into pieces. Oh. It was so bad to play. Oh. And I sort of, I wish I hadn't, because it'd probably be good to put on the wall. And then my mom got me I think it was an old Ibanez, like this, but the more kind of darker, smaller one, and that was cool for a bit. And then I also got a Fender Stratocaster, and that started me off in the electric. I got an electric Strat. I got a '64 Strat. I just want all the guitarists out there to hear this. I got a '64 pre-BBS Fender Stratocaster for 180 rands.
Get out of here.
Which is about, it's about £8.
No, come on.
Yeah.
I almost swore then.
Yeah.
Have you still got it?
No.
Yeah, you see.
I got skint and I flogged it, you know. But I had 20 happy years playing it. To be honest, it did start getting a bit funny towards the end of its days. Like, you just wouldn't stay in tune, and you know, the neck was gone and so on. But the pickups were still beautiful. I
used to work in a music shop when I first left school, and it was mainly records, but they had guitars as well. They had a Fender Strat, hanging on the wall. I didn't know much about guitars, and I knew a bit about them, and I was playing them.
Yeah.
But I didn't realise how much they were and stuff. So I took this Stratocaster off the wall, took all the strings off, and changed it round to the proper way, left-handed. And
right.
when there weren't any people in the shop, I used to amuse myself with it. I never changed it back, and I left fairly soon after. Well, I didn't leave. I was asked to leave. Let's put it that way. But I often wonder what happened to that Strat.
You know, being asked to leave is not the same as being fired. There's definitely a difference.
Yeah, well, you see, the thing was, I turned up. This is not about me, but this bit's about me. I turned up one day, and I'm waiting for the owner to unlock the shop. It was pouring with rain. I had my brand new umbrella with me, which my mum had bought me for Christmas or birthday or something. It was pouring with rain, and I'm waiting in the shop. I thought, I'm going home. I can't be bothered. So off I went. When I got home, I phoned him up. I said, I'm sorry, I can't come into work today. I'm feeling a bit groggy, you know. And he said, okay, fair enough. That wasn't your umbrella that was on the door then, was it? No, I don't know. So not only did I lose my job, I lost my umbrella. There you go.
That is rotten swizz.
Can we have another song?
Yes, I'm going to play my resonator, which I'm really loving. It's very loud, so I'm hoping that the voice comes in over the top of this.
I'll just move a bit closer to the microphone. Oh, look!
This is a song that I wrote about my town, the town of Cork Bay, which is kind of a fishing harbour town, which I've spent many years in. And I wrote the song about Cork Bay before I knew I was going to be living there again. It's called In the Bay Again. I'm going to have to take my cans off.
Oh, that's Please Marion.
Okay.
She loves Robin playing the mouth organ. My personal favourite. Oh, that sounds lovely.
I should have put, strictly speaking, guitar stands out. They're all sitting on the couch here, happily getting out of tune.
You're at home. It
With
doesn't
the
matter.
cushions in the fire, yeah. I went down to the harbor. It all looks the same. They all knew my name. Look back to the shoreline. I dreamed a little dream of you. I can't say I had something better to do. Yes, I'm in the begging. I'm in the begging. There's no need to explain. Yes, I'm in the begging. It seems like you're the only thing that's changed, and I'm in the bay again. The cobblestones trash the suspension. I guess that's part of the charm. But since I lost my transportation, walking does me no harm. Picked out a fish for the fry pan. Didn't need one big enough for two. But if I remember rightly, seafood never suited you. Yes, and I'm in the begging. I'm in the begging. There's no need to explain. Yes, I'm in the begging. Seems like you're the only thing that's changed, and I'm in the bay again. Went down again for the evening. Catch me some squid off the wall. The company was agreeable. I hardly thought of you at all. Nobody ventured an opinion, except for lazy-eyed. See you in the bay again. Well, that was all he said. Yes, and I'm in the begging. I'm in the begging. There's no need to explain. Yes, I'm in the Bay again. Seems like you're the only thing that's changed. And I'm in the Bay again. Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
See, stadium audience then. Not just your backroom folk club audience. That was proper stadium audience. Lovely. That's really nice. Thanks, Robin. Aaron says, what is the model of that Gibson? I think we explained it earlier, didn't we? Where were you, Aaron, when we talked about Robin's guitar earlier? Obviously just doing your own thing in your New York apartment, setting up your show. He does a wonderful show on a Sunday night, by the way.
Really, huh?
Yep. Put in Aaron Short in your YouTube and you'll see there's plenty of shows he's done. And he talks all things. He talks good stuff as well.
Excellent. Well,
talks gear on a Monday, is it? Or no, Martin Guitars on a Monday. And I think we talk gears like pickup and pedals and stuff on a Thursday. You'll correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, tell him what the guitar is again.
It's Ibanez, Aaron. It's the lawsuit special that Gibson sued Ibanez to stop them making. There was one batch that came in. There were about 8 guitars that came into South Africa. This was late 70s. Thanks, Moraine. And I paid it off. It cost, thanks, Ant. It cost me 300 rands. This, which is about 15 quid, which I paid off over 2 years.
Is that the one that you've always had around? That you've always had with you, Rob?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, it's I have like. Emotions every now and again. I think, I must get myself, an expensive kind of custom guitar and so on. And I pick them up and I like them, but I mean, it just feels like my guitar,
It's you, isn't it?
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's part of you, obviously, because, I mean, you've had it how many years? 30 years?
Yeah, at least.
Must be.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, I haven't seen Robin live. Robin not only does what you've heard him play and sing tonight with a harmonica guitar, also does a stomp board. You call it a stomp board?
Yeah.
Yeah, and looping as well, yeah? Still doing the looping?
I am, yes. It's a bit of a mixed blessing, the looping thing, because it allows you to, put down a rhythm and play, proper lead. And I've even got to the stage now where I get the loop going, and then you put the acoustic down and you can take an electric and play a bit of an electric thing. So it kind of makes it, all you need to do is strap cymbals between your knees and, you'll
bass
be
drum
doing
on
that,
your back. What pedal do you use?
I've got a RC 2. That's the one that I like. It's just I don't layer to the nth degree unless by accident. I was doing a gig in somewhere at West, and I put this, and I was still learning, and I put the loop pedal on, and I didn't realize it was recording round and round and round. So then when I put it on again, it sounded a bit like Queen live at Wembley, just like my speakers nearly exploded. But that's the sort of thing you do once.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't get too fancy with it. I just put down a bit of a rhythm, and then so you can play some lead over it.
Yeah. I guess Aaron uses it quite a lot in his shows, and he's quite an expert with it, I think. I've just bought a new pedal myself, and I've no idea. The manual is about, it's bigger than the King James Bible, I think, and not that I've ever read that either, but and you have to read the manual, don't you? It says you have to read the manual. Who reads manuals?
Do you?
I don't know. And it's a Harmony TC Helicon Voice Live 3 Extreme.
It sounds very interesting. Is that like a harmony thing?
Yeah, I can do this. La 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 la. That sort of thing,
Blimey.
I know. But it does. It plays. If you play if you play a chord, it picks up the chord and then makes a harmony with the chord. So
Okay.
so it follows the guitar or keyboard if you're playing a keyboard on the harmonies.
Okay.
It's fantastic. Makes you could turn into the Beach Boys or Fleet Foxes without any problem at all. But that's only one part of it. It also has a looper on it as well, which anyway. Aaron says he can't get how good the sound is with one mic. I know, because we're all into our technology, you see. I mean, I've got this radio mic, this what's name mic, and Aaron has a very nice setup with a Neumann, probably a mic or something like that, and his pedals and stuff. But you're right, Aaron. It sounds really good, just with a
and by the way, it's a 58.
This SM58. That's all it is. Yeah.
So now, Aaron, we tried it when we were doing the sound check. We put a large diaphragm up because that's the quality sound, right? And it didn't work. We were getting echoes from all over the place. I've got like a corridor there, and there's a big space here, and there's lots of glass with nasty reflections coming off it. And we were battling to get a sound. I was like, let's just whack a 58 on and see what happens.
See what happens.
And
I'm very impressed. Have you got any tours planned for the future? What's going on? Bearing in mind COVID and everything else.
Well, I've just done quite a heavy stint of touring up the Eastern Cape. I did 3 weeks in total up to East London, and all the spots in between the Garden Routes and the Eastern Cape. My wife's just come in. She's looking at me to ask, why isn't the fire going properly?
It looks all right to me. Well, get the marshmallows out.
So I did tour quite hard, and now we're sort of taking a little bit of a break, and all the venues are booking very, very short term because nobody knows what's going to happen. We've got a third wave sort of starting to kick off in Joburg, and we've already as I'm sure you have there lost people that we know, and it's all a bit
how are you able to play?
Unsure.
How are you able to play? Because I mean, it's been really in this country. We've had nothing at all, no events, nothing, absolutely nothing. Anywhere, everything was banned, so you can't play anywhere, even outdoors.
Well, on the plus side, for the guys who do the route circuit like myself, you're playing venues of like 50 to 80 people most of the time anyway. So it's not the big events. All the big events have been cancelled. There's been no big events. But the smaller ones have been doing quite well. And because I don't suppose we get the numbers. I mean, in the UK, a Friday night in a pub, it gets pretty cozy,
Yeah.
Whereas, out here, you're always trying to get people to gigs. I mean, if you can get 50 or 80 people to gigs as an independent artist, you're doing quite well. And the venues, yes, Aaron, it is one SM58. But they've been doing half capacity and quite sorry, excuse me, quite COVID compliant. So when you come in, you've got to have your mask on, and everybody gets sanitized, up the wazoo. And if you get up from your table, you've got to put your mask on, and they space the tables apart. And that's actually been working really well. So you have a table, but half capacity, so you can get like half the amount of people in. And that's been actually quite good, and we haven't had any, spikes from that kind of engagement particularly. It just seems to be a broader social thing when you do get it kicking off. So we've been quite lucky, but as I say, now we've had first wave, second wave, then we've had a little bit of a gap. And now we're coming into, I think, the third wave. But as I say, mostly it's in Johannesburg right now. Yeah. So everybody's just watching, and the venues are booking, not more than 3 weeks ahead.
And that's unbelievable, because we've literally had nothing.
Yeah.
We haven't had none of the pubs are open, so we've had nothing for a year.
And I know it's dreadful. And I've got a lot of, and Aaron will know this, in New York City as well. I've got mates there who haven't done a gig for a year. Everything just shut right down. I mean, it's just dreadful. But I suppose if you're in a place where the density of population, you can't take chances.
Yeah, yeah. Fair enough.
Because what's going on in India now, you know. That's good, Moraine. In July, we're on. Well, the gods willing.
I assume that's Port Elizabeth and not physical education.
No, you know, Port Elizabeth can be pretty physical education as well. You know, it can be quite a rough town. In fact, it's the one place where I have had a beer stolen from me at my very feet.
What?
On stage.
I hope you made good use of the mic stand.
No, I was busy. I was mid-song. It was actually quite a clever move because I couldn't do anything. And I always tell that joke in PE. And now when I go there, now when I go there, people steal my beer just to continue the joke. You know?
Well, you know what you should do? You should fill it with something else. I'm not saying.
Yeah.
I'll not say what. So, any plans to come back to Blighty?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to. I was coming over when we came back to South Africa. I mean, we were there for 5 years in Melton, and I was kind of feeling fairly settled and so on. My missus is Afrikaans. She has a large Afrikaans family. You know, they're like meerkats. There's just tons of them at every family gathering, and she just couldn't. You know, and she didn't want our daughter to grow up not knowing her family and so forth. So, you know, fair enough. We came back, and I went back over to the UK. I tried very hard to hang on to being able to come over and tour. I mean, I even bought a car and left it there and tried to sort of, for about 2 years I did that, and I go over for like a couple of months at a time, and it kind of worked. I mean, I couldn't keep the car going because it's just too expensive, but. I was going back over and just doing my whip round, but it eventually became, well, one of the main things was my dad popped off 2 years ago.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
And yeah, and he was in London, so I would always stay with him and use it as a base, and that was like a big plus. And prior to that, my Aunt Mary, who I used to stay with as well, so I had like strong London base. And with that gone, I just thought I didn't know if I wanted to go over again for a bit anyway. I didn't go over that year, and then you know, kind of things just went on here, and COVID kicked in. So you know, it just hasn't been possible. But I'd very much like to. I mean, I enjoy playing in Blighty. I enjoy playing all over Blighty.
Yeah, we enjoyed having you, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I like going up north, north. I love it up there. I do, yeah. Oh. And I love it. You know, I've got mates down in Devon, Cornwall. From being there and touring, I've got a really nice circuit and really great mates all over the country. So hopefully, I'll be able to get back over, you know, sometime. But it'll probably be only next year, realistically, if it does happen. But I dare say I'll be darkening your doorstep, you know, sometime.
It can't be too soon, mate. Look forward to it.
Yeah.
But last time I saw you was at the Navigation at Cosgrove, wasn't it? I don't know if you remember that.
That's right. Yes. That was a funny gig, wasn't it?
It was a funny gig. Yeah. Well, I'm sure you've had your share of funny gigs like I have over the years. And yeah, we played the Navigation a couple of times, but
I don't think they're doing music anymore. I think
they
changed hands.
No, it has changed hands.
Yeah.
It's tough getting gigs, you know.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, some towns as well. I mean, Lincoln is a great gigging town. You know, that always was a great gigging town for me. You could do a gig in Lincoln, and you know, you'd be on, and the pub would be full, and there's another 3 gigs on in that night in the town, all with roots guys playing fiddles and banjos, and you know, a very very thriving live music scene. Whereas where we were living, Melton, was kind of, you know, rock covers kind of territory, which was quite tricky. I mean, there was a good, the Knowles Arms we used to play there a bit, and that was quite good. But you know, it's so nice travelling in the UK. You know, you sort of come out from your gig, and even though it's quite a far drive, which is something you don't really get in South Africa. South Africa, you don't drive after a gig. If it's 2 or 3 hours, you don't drive home. You stay over. Whereas the UK, you come out of your gig, you get in the car, you stop for a coffee and you're listening to, you know, Bob Harris or something on the way home.
Motorway
and
services.
And they're on the road. You're on the road with another, literally, couple of thousand of musicians who are all doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah, true.
And it's nice being part of that. But I must say, I have been enjoying, you know, having to be here in South Africa and touring and playing, and I'm really enjoying being here as well. So I guess I'm just grateful to be playing music as for a living.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I was talking to Aaron, and he's a consummate gigger, and he was telling me that when he gigs in New York, because he's originally from Suffolk, but when he gigs in New York, it's not uncommon to do a 3-hour gig. And I'm thinking, in the UK, 2 45-minute sets,
2:45s,
and then you're done.
I'm
Sometimes
such a pansy.
Yeah, but sometimes you play longer, don't you? If you're enjoying it and you're having fun, you play longer. But, you know, the actual contract, 2 45-minute sets, you know, half hour in between, break, and then you're done.
Yeah.
3 hours?
Easy peasy. You're out by 11 o'clock. I mean, I have that sort of in South Africa as well. It's just like I say, like there's 2 sets. There's a few where we do 3, but not often. But yes, that New York thing, I know when I went there, it was just like, it's 4 sets. And the governor might come up to you during the 4th one and just say like, just do 4, 3 or 4, and we'll knock it on the head if it's a bit quiet. But that's kind of the deal. It's 4 sets, you know.
Sharpens you up, doesn't it?
It does sharpen you up, and it's also now that when I'm in there, cheers, Ant. You get and I get the chance to play 3 sets. So there's a gig down the road. We play Cape to Cuba, which is like a beach bistro type thing, and they want 3 sets, and it's quite nice to stretch out a little bit and stop being so goddamn lazy and actually dig into your repertoire a little bit and stretch things out, you know. And I'm playing now in a band, like a little side band called The Breeze, which is we're playing classic blues and classic rock stuff. And the drummer is a guy called Michael Canfield, who is sort of a veteran of New York, of the New York gigging scene. And I mean, you know, he's as tough. He's as tough as an old boot when it comes to gigs. It's just like, bring it on, you know. So he keeps us in trim there.
Yeah, well, you know, it's we're just looking forward to getting out and doing stuff again, because it's, you know, it's fine doing. I do a what's he saying here? Lazy Brits. You're a Brit. Come off it, Aaron.
From Suffolk as well.
From Suffolk, yeah. But no, it's not. That's just the game, you know. You don't. Oh, I didn't ask. People say it is 2:40 because when you're in a pub, they close at 11. You can't do 3 hours, you know. I'd love to be able to do 3 hours. No, I won't.
Yeah, I know. My best is when the venue owner comes up and he says, "Listen, sorry, we've got to finish it at 10:30 tonight because," and you're going, "Oh, just I'm gutted about that."
I've got so many songs some really good songs to do. It's oh no, okay, all right. Still be the same price though.
Yeah. Although, having said that, in New York, if you were playing a little bit longer, which is another thing that I didn't realize, and that's happened to me a few times, where you're playing and they want you to play. A bit more, they pay you more.
Yeah.
It's just that American thing, you know. They want another set, and you don't have to argue with them. They say, "We'll play another set." Well, we'll pay you another whatever, and so then you say yes, and you do it with a good heart.
And they also have a tip jar apparently as well.
Yeah.
So Aaron.
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Blimey.
You took a break, don't come back. Yeah. And also the thing about the charging thing, I mean, Michael, the guy that we play with, he's from that New York tradition where if you don't have to have a cover charge or even necessarily, you know, any kind of range for bucks. If you get in front of 30 people and you give him half an hour, he will get them reaching into their wallets in half an hour. It's just that thing where you kind of, sort of that street kind of thing. Which we don't have, you know. I kind of tend to do ticketed events, and I like it that way. But it doesn't always play for you. Sometimes it's good to play for the hats, you know.
Can I reach into my pocket and ask you to do another song, please, Robin? To see what I did there.
Yes. All right, I'll do one. I know you like this one. This is a song called "Bobby Come Back,"
Oh, great song.
which is a mix of kind of, I guess, country and a Durban or KwaZulu Natal style called Maskandi, which is a massive musical style in KwaZulu Natal. It's like the biggest hit charts in the country, and it's the sort of stuff that was. A lot of it made it onto that album that Paul Simon made, but there's a ton of bands. It's still a very thriving genre in KZN. This is called Bobby Come Back. It was long ago, but I remember salt from the sea hanging thick in the air. We were on the coast, just north of St. John's, in a hotel playing where nobody cared. You were singing and jumping up and down. Bobby, come back. Oh, don't tell me this is where we are after oh so long. Bobby, come back and feel the love. Bobby, come back and play the new songs. Tropical leaves swaying in the breeze, although as you want and the water's warm. Everybody listens, you're the island's king. You should be singing and jumping up and down. Bobby, come back. Oh, don't tell me this is where we are after oh so long. Bobby, come back and feel the love. Bobby, come back and play the new songs. I see you on the strip, I met you long ago. You hung up your guns, that's all we know. Something seemed to try, there had to be a seed. Some jumping up and down could be what you need. Oh, if I saw you now, I'd probably pass by. If we said hi, we could have a beer. I don't know, but it seems kind of funny with no common ground after all these years. Bobby, come back. Oh, don't tell me this is where we are after oh so long. Bobby, come back and feel the love. Bobby, come back and play the new songs. Bobby, come back. Oh, don't tell me this is where we are after oh so long. Bobby, come back and feel the love. Bobby, come back, play the new songs. Bobby, come back and play the. Bobby, come back and play the new songs. Thank you, Mark. Thanks very much.
That's absolutely fantastic. I love that song, mate. Thank you. Thanks for playing it.
Thank you.
Oh, hang on. Mark's got. Just remember the version of Mammy Blue I remember was Roger Whittaker.
Really?
Ooh.
Wow.
I'm gonna leave old Durham town. That's the man.
I'm going to have to check that out.
I think. Let's have a look here. Can I do this? Yes. There you go. There's Robin's website.
Aha.
just move it over there a bit. There you go. Yeah, plenty of stuff on there, and I think I picked a few of my questions off there as well. Are you intending doing any more of the live stuff online, Robin?
I haven't been doing it just because we've been so happy to get in front of people again. But I'm thinking we all had to up our game so much for the streaming. Thanks, Moraine. We had to, when we started off doing the streaming, it was quite we had to do a very quick gear step up to get it together. And now that I'm able to stream, there's certain things that it works very well for, and you can do stuff that you wouldn't usually do in a gig. I mean, I did a show of just South African covers. I did a show of just blues stuff, and there's other themes, kind of themed shows that streaming's actually quite an opportunity to do, and you do get to play to people. I mean, here I am playing to folks from all over the world, which you don't get to do at your local. So I think I'm going to get back into it and try and do a couple of targeted theme type shows, or even just ordinary shows, because as I say, it's really nice to see people coming in from all over. It's just weird not having that interaction live.
Yeah.
And as I say, we've all been so pleased to get in front of people that we've just been doing gigs. But yes, the short answer is yes. I'm going to be doing some more streaming.
Yeah, no, I look forward to that, because all of what you said is true, and I occasionally do some stuff with my stuff online, but mostly I do songs for kids, which is for my school, because I haven't been able to go into school. So I do 3 days a week, an hour a day, for the kids who aren't in school, and also for the kids that are in school. They can see me on the big screen there, because I do music at school as well. So I mean, and that's fun. It's a lot of fun. But I quite enjoy the fact that you can, in this kind of environment where it's not like tonight is a nice relax. We're just having a chat. There's no pressure. The good people on the side there are making their nice comments and nice little questions and stuff. And it's really friendly. It's really nice. It doesn't beat playing live, I admit. I should put me on there. It doesn't beat playing live, not at all. But it's kind of it's a good substitute at the moment anyway, I think. What's this all about, Robin?
Yeah,
I've got some.
it is.
Hang on, what's this? Hang on. Oh, look at you there in
in rushes.
That wasn't in Lincolnshire, was it? No, that's less.
No, that's our local flay, as we call it.
Oh, look at that one. That's an atmospheric one, isn't it?
Yeah, look at the distance, trying to see if somebody's trying to break into my car. I think that's that look.
Oh dear, I can't seem to get us
That's looking
back
to
on
see if
again.
that's
There
looking
we
to see if something's sneaking up on me.
You did a gig at the Half Moon in Putney.
Yes.
Would you?
It's one of the places.
Should I play a little bit of it? Just a little bit. A few seconds. Here we go. Look. Hang on.
Right, this next one is a song of unbridled optimism for some odd reason. A tune called Perfect Day.
That looks like a great venue.
Yeah, I love playing that venue. It's such a nice part of London as well. And it was very convenient for me because it was just down the road from Fulham where my dad stayed. Indeed, Aaron. And I've played there many times over the years with various lineups. And it's a sort of place you can play. If you've got 70 people in, they put tables out, and you don't look like you're rattling around too much, and it can get heaving as well. And the sound was very good. The guy that used to do the sound there, Dun, he's passed on now, sadly. But I used to have a great time with Dun. He was a old Scotsman who he hated what he called sound on a stick, which is the subs and the little pole, and then the tweeters at the top. He couldn't stand that. He had like just full range, 2 stacks of full ranges, and that was it. Which I kind of am coming around to more and more these days.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of good gigs there. We used to play in the old days. Sorry.
No, go on. No, Carol.
In the old days, we used to play a lot of the pubs in the 80s when I was playing with the band over there. And we did like the Mean Fiddler, the Rock Garden, the Oval, quite a lot of the pubs, the sort of late 80s, when we were sort of playing to try and get signed and so on. And yeah, London is it's pretty much half the world's bands came out of a London pub. And it is, to get in a London pub on a Friday night that's full, and you've got to make people happy. If you do, it's a thing, it's something you can. It's a feather in your cap.
Yeah, no, great feeling, great atmosphere. Look wonderful. I've had my moments. We've done gigs at the LG Arena, Birmingham. This big.
I know. I see. You sent me a pic once. So this humongous, like 15,000 people there or something.
They were watching us before they went in to see the Eagles.
Well, you would have ruined the Eagles. You'd have ruined them for the Eagles,
Well, we did. We even played. We even played "Peaceful Easy Feeling" because we didn't care. It was so cheesy, and and we did Peter Gabriel. So I can say on my CV, these are the people I supported: the Eagles, Peter Gabriel, Leonard Cohen, Mark Knopfler, Cliff Richard. Oh no, strike that one. We did. We played with Cliff Richard and the Eagles. So
yeah, can't argue with that.
Yeah, you can't. It was experience, and there is nothing better than playing to a big crowd like that. Nothing. It's fantastic. Well, you know the feeling. It's wonderful feeling. And I'm going to look at my notes now. What's been your most memorable gig? The one that you've played, and the one that you've been to?
I guess the biggest one that I played to, which is memorable, just I suppose, I can't even remember much about the gig itself, but there was a series of concerts that happened at Ellis Park Stadium in South Africa. They were called Concert in the Park, and it was a wonderful thing. It was like a full-on multiracial gig. They had the big black stars, Brenda Fassie, Soul Brothers, Hot Sticks Mabuza, all that kind of stuff, and then they had Johnny Clegg and Void and Elemental and ourselves, and that was spectacular. We had like, I think we played to about 90,000 people, and at the height they had 120,000 people there, and that was great. But actually, what we sounded like, I have no idea, because it's those huge stages. Because you're kind of disconnected, I don't know. But it's probably, you're on this massive stage, and your drummer is 20 yards away, and it's not like how you normally feel with a band. So you don't actually know. It's quite a out of body experience. But it was just amazing to look out and see the crowds. But then the other gigs you remember are often just ones that just stick in your mind that you weren't expecting, unexpected ones. I mean, just of recent times, there was one that we played in this little pub called the Captain's Table in East London. It was myself and a bass player called Sculpture Bear and a drummer called John O'Sweetman. And it was just one of those things that was like packed and a tiny pub, and we could hardly fit on the stage. And we just played, and it's a very improvisational kind of, I wouldn't call it jazz rock, but we improvise a lot. We've got the basic form of the songs, and then basically the band just uses my songs as punch bags. That's how it goes, as a trampoline, and nice, Aaron. And it's just and we just had such a good time. It was just fantastic. So that was like the more recent one. But I had one that I remember at a festival called Splashy Fen, which is in KZN, and it's up on the hills just by the Drakensberg, just before we get to the Drakensberg. And it was an experience where we were all staying in tents, and I'd been at the beer tent, as you do, and I came home, and it had been raining, and my tent was completely awash. My mattress was floating in like 2 inches of water. So I thought, well, I'm obviously not going to go to sleep now. So I pulled the mattress out, thinking what to do, and I could see a fire up at the top of the hill. So I just walked with the mattress up to the top of the hill, and it was a Zulu band who'd put together this Maskandi band. They were called Maskandi on the Rocks, like completely just, I'm sure they thought it up the day before. And they had no English, as in like nothing. They were, very kind of raw dudes from the bush, and they were booked on one of the other stages, and I sort of just came up with my wet mattress, and I just put it by the fire there and sort of communicated that, could I dry it, and they were like, cool. And they were practicing their set, or just playing. I don't even think they were practicing, they were just playing. And it was a squash box and 2 guitarists, and they were singing. And I was just sitting there listening to it, and I thought, like, and my Scots heritage, I've got a buddy who says, like, there's a reason why the Scots really like Maskandi, because it's when the early settlers, Irish and Scots settlers, bumped into the Zulus at Port Natal. That was what resulted in that kind of music. So you hear it. And I thought, I'm going to go get my guitar. So I went down there, I got my guitar out of the tent, and I went out, and we jammed for hours, and we couldn't even say one word to each other, and we just jammed, and people were coming from over the hills. They could hear it, and they were coming, and we ended up in the center of this thing. And, when Zulus are appreciating something, they whistle at you, like, shh. And eventually we were just surrounded by this sort of crowd of people that was just going bananas. And that was like a really special night for me.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And lastly, because we're coming up to an hour and a half, it's flown by, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah.
So,
and what is the best gig you've attended? Who's the artist or performer?
That's a tough one.
Yeah, I can tell you mine.
Tough one.
I can tell you mine straight away.
Yeah, go for it.
Genesis performing "Lambs Lies Down" at Wembley. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Nothing comes close to it. And I've seen Jimi Hendrix live as well.
Wow.
Yep.
Jeez, where did you see Hendrix?
In the Ricky Tick Club in Hounslow. 1968 or 69, can't remember.
That must have been one of his first English tours, because I think Sting saw him in a wee club in Newcastle somewhere.
He was playing support to Eric Burdon and the New Animals.
Yeah.
Because Chaz Chandler was his manager, of course. But the Animals were the headline, and Hendrix was the support.
Yes.
I didn't realise what I was watching, but I knew it was pretty good.
Yeah.
So
no, I knew most of the guys. Well, that's a tough one. I mean, I can't really narrow it down to one. I can narrow it down to like 3 or 4.
Okay, go for it.
I mean, Jeff Beck.
Oh, yeah.
At Hammersmith Odeon. The Odeon, the old Odeon. It was like
Apollo,
a 2,000 seater.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was so loud. But it was so good. It was around about the time of Guitar Workshop. We had Terry Bozier playing drums. It was just crazy. That was really good. Frank Zappa.
Yeah, I saw Frank Zappa.
Yeah, I saw
Broadway the Hard Way.
I didn't see that. I saw the one at Wembley, the arena, not the stadium.
Yeah,
sort of
that's where he did
10,000
Broadway the Hard Way as well.
Really, yeah.
That's where I saw
he was
him,
he did a reggae version of Stairway to Heaven.
Yes.
And a Beatles song. It was fantastic. But that was really good. And also the sound was so good. He was playing that telly. And I mean, it's quite a hard room to get good sound in. Tom Waits.
Oh,
I saw Tom Waits in about '87, just after Swordfish Trombone, and that was awesome. And Prince.
oh, wow, wish
I saw Prince twice, and
Did you?
I saw Prince on the Love 60 tour, and that was just phenomenal, insane. So that's my 4.
Well, that's pretty good. I mean, I underestimated how good Prince was because I was never into him when he came out, when he did whatever he did. I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah,
But then I did come to him late, and wow, what a guitarist, what a singer, what a performer, what a writer. He's had everything,
Yeah,
didn't he?
all around, and I
Yeah.
mean he was so good, and with a sense of humor as well.
Yeah. He didn't take himself
Um,
seriously, I don't think.
No, he would joke with the audience, joke with himself, and joke with his own ego.
Mm.
I mean, it was insane. He played this insane show, and then sat down at the piano. And all the songs he couldn't fit into the set, he just did a little piano medley of the ones, going from Raspberry Beret to other one, like modulating through the keys. And then he just jumps up from the piano and goes, "Sometimes I scare myself." you know?
It must be frightening having
no,
that
it's
sort of
wonderful.
talent. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Emma.
Have we got it's up to you, Rob. Have we got? I mean, I'd love to have another song. I know we didn't. We went for 4, didn't we, at the beginning? But if there is another one that you'd like to play, yeah, I'd love to hear a song to play us out. You can say no.
I'm trying to think of. Well, I can't really.
No,
can
you
I?
can't.
Yeah. All right. Then maybe there's the one. It's been getting gently out of tune on the couch.
That's that log fire that's doing that, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll do a cheerful country song to finish off. About being eaten by sharks. It's a song called "Back of the Line." The light is fading along the shore. I want one sweet spoonful more, but I'm not ready for that one last dance. I give her one of the nose if I get a chance. But if she takes me, oh then she takes me. If she takes me, then I'm going home. And if she wants me, guess that she'll have me. All I ask is that you swallow me whole, oh, swallow me whole. Back of the line, am I out of time? Back of the line, shadow on my mind. Back of the line, am I out of time? Back of the line, shadow on my mind. Sometimes the reaper come in a white coat. Sometimes you come like a bird from the sky. Sometimes you come like a fish out of water. Seems like everybody's wanting to fly. But if it's my time, then it's the right time. I can't cry, I never got you wrong, no. And if a song rolls on in my mind, then I'll be whistling as I on the way home. Whistle all the way home. Back of the line, am I out of time? Back of the line, shadow on my mind. Back of the line, am I out of time? Back of the line, shadow on my mind. Well, there's not a whole lot in offer, just just an old bag of bones who's already had much to suffer. I would hope that she would leave me alone. But if she takes me, no, then she takes me. If she takes me, then I'm going home. And if that song rolls on in my mind, then I'll be whistling as I on the way home, whistle all the way home. Back of the line, am I out of time? Back of the line, shadow on my mind. Back of the line, am I out of time? Back of the line, shadow on my mind. Hey! Back of the line, am I out of time? Back of the line, shadow on my mind. Back of the line, am I out of time? Back of the line, shadow on my mind. Shadow on my mind. Shadow on my mind.
There you go. There you go. Fantastic. That was wonderful. Thanks. Thanks for indulging me with more songs, Robin.
Yes, pleasure.
Really
Thank you.
nice.
Thank you.
And it's been absolutely lovely having you on tonight. And Marion says, thank you, gents. Special time spent. You have to come back in July
Thanks.
before the Eastern Cape runs out of water. Yeah. Great show. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Thank you for everybody that's checking in.
And don't forget, you can catch up, which is a lot of people do afterwards. They go and, you know, it's not going to go. It's not global. I'm not going viral or anything like this. But it, you know, it's just really to indulge me a bit, really, because I get to chat to people that I haven't either seen for a long time, and to listen to their music. And it's been a real pleasure tonight, mate. Much appreciated. Well,
greatly enjoyable from my side as well. Thank you for having me on.
Excellent, thank you. So, folks, that's it for tonight. I'll chat to you after we've gone offline here, Robin, and do the necessary. You know, find out where I've got to send the check and everything. And oh, look, I can't even show an ironic face because I wasn't on. But thanks, everybody. Tune in again next time. A couple of weeks' time, I think we'll do another one. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And a big thank you to Robin for being with us tonight.
Thank you. Thanks, Brad.
Cheers, mates.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
That's all, folks.